All right, have you guys ever heard of the term cognitive bias before? And what does it mean for gamblers? It's actually very impactful. This is your brain trying to play tricks on you inside of the casino for games of chance, okay? I'm going to give you 7 big biases that exist and what you can do to help protect yourself so that you don't fall into the trap, because this is a big psychological game. That's what gambling is, and our brains are constantly pushing against the realities of what is going on. And that's what we're here to try to explain today. So let me give you the 7 reasons and then tell you what you can do to help mitigate them. Let's get going. Everybody, as always, if you are new here, we want to welcome you to the Gamble Smart channel. We are here to educate you to become better gamblers. That's right. We talk about how all this stuff works from our extensive knowledge of being slot technicians, working with mathematicians and game programmers, as well as just the experience. We both combined have 30 to 40 years of gambling experience, and we want to provide the best that we can to you guys so you can make educated decisions before going into the casino. All right, let's talk about biases today. This is one of my favorite topics, and I really want you guys to pay attention. It's not super exciting, I get that, but it's important that you understand that there are biases that are playing against you inside of the casino, and they may be leading you to some very dangerous decisions when it comes to managing your bankroll stuff, so pay attention. All right, the first one is the gambler's fallacy, or a logical bias, okay? What does that mean exactly? So I want to use an example here because I think that's the best way to explain this, and that is the roulette table, okay? We all know the roulette table, red, black, and green, right? Those are the 3 color choices. Red and black are basically around 50-50, a little bit reduced because of the greens. Depends on if you have 1 green 0, 2 greens, or now the 3 green 0. I can't believe they're doing this. Ridiculous. When are they gonna, it's gonna be all green zeros now? Anyway, I digress. So basically red or black. So a lot of people think it's almost a 50-50 bet, right? You go up to the table, you put a quarter down, a quarter meaning a $25 chip on red or black, comes up red or black, you get another $25 chip, you doubled your money, right? So here's where the fallacy comes in, and that is that you look at that dummy board, you think, wow, there's been 6 blacks in a row. I got to put it on red because it's going to end up being red. There's been way too many blacks in a row. People think of roulette as a sequential game, but it's not. Every time that ball is spun, the odds are constant. It's the same. The probabilities are exactly the same every time that ball goes around. So although it's astronomically difficult to get 6 or 7 blacks in a row, it doesn't mean that the odds have changed and it suddenly needs to be red. And there was a very famous story. I like using this example because I think it really kind of seals the deal here. And that was way back in the early 1900s at the Monte Carlo casino. And this was an instance, the only recorded instance where there were something like 23 blacks in a row, okay? Can you just imagine that? The odds of that are astronomical, like I said, but that doesn't mean, again, that the probabilities are changing, and they weren't. And so what did people do? They were putting everything on red. I mean, there was a huge stack of chips. People put their house deed on red. They did everything, crazy stuff, because they said there is just no way after 23 blacks that the next one will be black. And guess what? It was black. And the casino made more on that day because of that event than they did ever before, okay? And so this is a bias, right? This is a bias playing against you, the gambler's fallacy, thinking that past results has influence on future results, and it doesn't, okay? It doesn't on a roulette table, and it doesn't on slot machines either, to a large extent. You got to understand that just because you've seen something in the past doesn't give you any indication of what's going to happen in the future. Try to keep that in your mind. Past results have no influence on future results. Those are how slot machines work. That is why there's an RNG, random number generator, because they need to, by law, make it so that it's not predictable what is going to come in the future. So try to remember that, because if you don't, you're going to fall into this gambler's fallacy, thinking that what has happened in the past gives you some kind of weight on what is going to happen in the future. And a lot of people fall for this with slot machines, but we want you to calm down a little bit. And the fix for this is just to make sure you understand that past events, I'm going to say it again. If I say it enough times, I think you guys will remember. I'm going to say it one more time. Ready? Past events have no bearing or prediction on what is going to happen in the future. Try to keep that in your mind. I try to say that every time I'm playing a slot machine so I don't fall victim into thinking, wow, the last time I got 2 double diamonds and a blank, 10 spins later, I got 2 double diamonds and a single bar. That's a bias. So don't fall for it. All right, let's get on to the next one. All right, the next one is called the Dunning-Kruger effect, okay? And this is where your ego kind of gets in the way, where you feel that just because you've played a slot machine or you've played a table games a couple times, that you're suddenly an expert on it, okay? You know everything about it. That is a bias where it could lead into control. Maybe you do know a lot about it. I claim to know a lot about how slot machines work, but I also admit that I'm fallible. There may be some things that I'm not aware of yet, and those are the things that I need to continuously try to educate myself on. But a lot of people stop there. They stop as soon as they've spun it a couple times and they've played a top dollar bonus round, and they think they're the boss of top dollar because they know exactly how the game's going to play out every single time. That is an egotistical response to something that a lot of people don't understand about how the slot machines work. So don't let your ego get in the way. Okay, that's really the example here, is that we should all admit that we've got more to learn. Don't think that you know everything about a game, because it could lead you down making a bad decision, because some kind of scenario may happen that you like, wait a minute, I've never seen that before, right? Right? Like, that's something you got to be aware of. So don't let your ego get in the way. Be receptive of other explanations as to what is occurring. All right, let's get on to the next one. All right, this next one is probably pretty popular. Okay, a lot of people feel this, and this is the illusion of control. Well, what is this, and how does it pertain to slot machines, for example? Changing the volume, thinking you're giving yourself a better chance of winning. Fast tapping on the screen, you know, slapping that button, all those types of things. You feel like you're in control, that you're stopping those reels, and it's not the machine stopping them. That's false. But where it gets really dangerous is the games that are coming out these days with the firecrackers going up, the pigs getting big, the coins and the jewels just starting to pile up. They're giving you the illusion that you're in control of when that bonus is going to hit, because it's coming soon, because it's all the way at the top. People have lost thousands of dollars on these games because they feel like they're in control. I'm going to tell you this, and this is the solution to your problem if you have this kind of bias, and that is, you are not in control. I'm sorry to say, but on a slot machine, you are not in control. The random number generator is in control, and that is the only thing that's in control. All right, let's get on to the next one. All right, this one, confirmation bias. Now, you hear us talk about this all the time on our live show for very good reason, because we all fall victims of this. This is our brain working overtime to try to explain what is going on. And it's a belief system, right? We believe something so strongly because of something we've seen. We've seen patterns. We've seen explanations of why, you know, casinos just go dark, meaning that nobody's hitting all the time. And then suddenly everybody's hitting all the time. What is that? Okay, that is your brain going into overdrive, trying to convince you this is what's going on. Your belief is that time of day makes a difference on when you play a slot machine because of what you've witnessed. And that belief system becomes so strong that you can completely ignore any other explanation. We see this all the time in the comments where people say, I absolutely 100% believe that the best time of day to play is in the morning. I've won most of my jackpots in the morning, so that's when I play. And we reply to them and say, that's great, keep playing in the morning, but please understand that that's not what's going on. And of course, the response we always get is, you don't know what you're talking about. I absolutely always play better in the mornings. I tell everybody the mornings are the time to play. It's a false statement, but we believe it so strongly because of being rewarded for that, okay? This particular person has been rewarded more times by winning jackpots during the morning time than any other time. But the thing that makes this even crazier is that person probably is winning jackpots at other times, but their belief is so strong that they're not even noticing it, right? And this is confirmation bias, and this is something you got to be very, very careful with inside of a casino, because you might start making betting decisions based on this bias. Imagine this person getting desperate because they haven't hit a hand pay in a few days, and they're like, well, I got to wake up early tomorrow, go down to the casino because I'll end up getting a jackpot because I'll play before 9 a.m. and they don't hit it. You know, those are the types of things that you got to look out for. So confirmation bias, big thing. Take it easy. Realize again that you're not in control. There is no patterns like that. It may seem that way and you may believe it, but belief is different from the facts, and you got to be able to distinguish between the two. All right, let's get on to the next one. All right, so to kind of expand on that last one that we just did, the confirmation bias, there is a point where that bias becomes so strong that you will absolutely refuse any kind of evidence, Even if I were to present you with the documentation on how a slot machine works, signed off by all the developers and all the mathematicians that have ever built a slot machine before, and they say, 100,000 people say this is exactly how it works, you're still not going to believe it, right? It's a fix, it's the way that they trick you, all these kind of things. There's always an explanation, right? If your bias gets that strong, you really need to take a step back and just try to be open to other explanations as to what's going on out there, right? You may be wrong. We all have to admit that at some point. I admit that sometimes. I do know a lot about slot machines, but I also admit that I don't know everything. And it would be wrong of me to say that I am the utmost expert on everything slot machine related, because it's not the truth. I'm always open to new things. And you should be too. And so don't let your bias run amok where you feel things so strongly that you refute everything. You won't even look at additional evidence or additional other alternative ideas on how something is working, okay? Again, it's up to you. We can't control you, right? That's not what we're trying to do in this video, but we're trying to tell you that it exists, and you should be aware that if it does get that bad, you should probably take a step back, because again, you could be making bad betting decisions based on that information that you feel so strongly about, right? All right, let's get on to the next one. All right, guys, this next one, I want you to pay attention, very serious on this one, because this is where a lot of problem gambling starts. It's called the availability bias. And basically what this one is where you have had things happen to you in the past and you feel like they must happen to you in the future. You've hit a jackpot on double top dollar. I'm going to return to that same game a week later because I must hit it again. Okay, that is the availability bias. That is basically saying what has happened in the past is convincing you that it must happen again in the future. And the reason this becomes a big problem with problem gaming is that think of the time that you first gambled. Okay, try to remember back to the first time you were in a casino. If you're watching this video, I'm almost willing to bet that most of you actually won the first time you went to the casino. Because I believe, and this is just speculation, but I believe that if you went to the casino for your first time, let's say you turn 21, you go to the casino and you get wrecked, you don't win anything. Blackjack tables, you lose everything. Slots, you lose everything. Are you going to return the next day and try again? I think you probably wouldn't. But most of us do because we had some kind of victory that first time we played. We played a slot machine and we bet $3 and we won $100. You're like, wow, that was easy. That was super easy. I can't wait to do that again. And then you get in the car the next day and you go and do it again. And maybe you get lucky and you do it again. But then you fall victim. Like you fall into the trap, right? Which is what casinos are built on, is that trap, thinking that it must happen to you again in the future. It doesn't. Okay, you can have 3 successful casino trips in a row and then get wrecked for the rest of the year. It's happened to many people. It can happen to you. And you should be aware of that so that you don't fall victim into problem gambling, because this bias is very strong when it comes to that. And again, try to think back to that last time, or the first time you ever gambled. Let us know in the comments. I'm really curious. Did you win? If you did win, are you still a gambler? If you lost, are you still a gambler? Interesting thought, right? All right, let's get on to the last one. All right, this last one is kind of like the one we just did, but a little bit different, and that is the frequency of this illusion bias. And basically what it means is you are acting on that information, that you won 3 times and you're going to play the next 3 times expecting to win. But then you don't, but you forget about it, right? You erase that from your memory because you can't seem to remember the time that you lost. All you remember is the time that you won, and you want to replicate that, right? That euphoria is very powerful. And if you try to think about that, let's say that you always win on the slot machine. You see what I did there? You don't always win on that slot machine, but your brain is thinking that you do, and you're making decisions based off of that. So that's the final bias. Don't fall for that. Try to remember that just because something has happened in the past, it's not going to happen in the future. Sound familiar, right? We've talked about that like, what, 6 times now in this video? Fast results don't impact the future, okay? All right, let's wrap this up. All right, I hope you guys stuck to the end. I know this wasn't very exciting. It's not like playing a slot machine, live play, and all that kind of stuff. But it's important that you understand that these biases exist, because if you're going to become a better gambler, you better be able to identify if you are witnessing any of these things. And if you are, make sure you're putting steps in place to try to tone it down a little bit. I don't think you can completely get rid of it, Even Dave and I have confirmation bias from time to time. It's easy to fall into that trap, right? You fall for the chase, all those types of things. Even the best gamblers out there fall victim to this. But realizing that it exists and trying to put something in place is going to make you a better gambler. It really, really will. So stop like falling victim to this stuff. Like, that's why I did this video, is because it's a big problem out there. And the only reason we know that is because we see every single comment that comes into this channel. And we know, as a matter of fact, it is a big problem. So identify the bias, try to put something in place to prevent it, or at least to cut it down a little bit. And please, 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 please be open to other explanations on what you're witnessing, okay? Just because you've seen something doesn't make you an expert on it. I'm not saying that to be mean, it's just the truth, right? And so we want you to be able to at least admit that you may not know everything about a slot machine, or how the slot machines work, or how gambling, casino management works, all those types of things, and be open to other ideas, okay? Again, we are here to tell you those ideas, but don't let it stop with us. You've got to do your own research, validate it yourself, but be open to it. That's all we're trying to say, because we really think you will become a better gambler because of it. All right, guys, as always, gamble smart, gamble safe. If you go out to the casinos this weekend, think about these biases. Try to write down, or tell your spouse or something a time where you just notice yourself falling victim to it, and say, you know what, I want to do this the next time, and I'm going to be a better gambler because of it. Right? All right, guys, take it easy. Gamble smart, gamble safe. See you later. Bye-bye.